Welcome to episode 1 of Assistive Tech Times. I'm recording live from Morristown, New Jersey, where we talk about all kinds of ed tech and assistive technology. With me this afternoon is Mark Aranzio. He's the CEO and co-founder of Ideaphora, which is a really interesting application of graphic organizers, and that really helps students work with content and create knowledge maps and do deeper thinking about different ideas and concepts in the classroom. So it's really great, Mark, to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about how you went about, founding the company and your actually a very brilliant piece of software as well?
Thank you. So my co-founder and I are both problem solvers, and we both had an interest in concept mapping, knowledge mapping. Some of you may know me from my previous life as Senior Vice President of Inspiration Software for 16 years. I've been a concept mapper, mind mapper for over 20 years now, and pretty dependent on concept mapping and mind mapping.
Right.
And I had left Inspiration in 2010 and really wasn't sure I wanted to do anything else with mind mapping aside from being a user and getting value out of it that way, until two industry executives with Edmodo actually introduced me to my co-founder. And the introduction was, hey, Mark, one person in the world you have to meet. And to my co-founder, Anil, is like, hey, Anil, there's one person in the world that we need to talk to about this. So it's pretty amazing. And
karma, true karma.
Yeah, and I remember sitting through a demonstration that Anil gave me of a proof of concept. And his idea was, he's a machine learning guy, and he creates analysis engines focusing on video. And he wanted to create specific mind maps, Tony Buzan style mind maps. And my head just started to churn immediately, realizing that this technology could be used to solve real education problems, particularly in the U.S. The way things are going, the Common Core is more conceptual, right? And broader thinking is important. And then, so what we ended up with is making it a concept mapping, knowledge mapping tool. If you can see this here.
Right.
So quickly, what we do is a good time to introduce the concept before it gets too confusing. But I realize it's backwards in the webcam, but student watches a YouTube video, for example, in the top corner here. And below it, our analysis engine has already extracted keywords and key concepts based on the that video and others of its subject.
Okay.
Right? So basically, normal concept mapping is like what you see here in this screen, and there are literally, 50 programs that do this of varying degrees of usefulness, right? So, I didn't want to get involved in just another tool that just created plain old concept maps, right? So I knew from my past experience that students and folks have a problem with a blank screen. How do I get started? Well, we're given a giant head start by identifying keywords and key phrases here. Then it's a simple drag and drop exercise. So we're helping. You'll see when I talk about the research in a bit how important this is. And these two things combined we're giving a lot of support in identifying key concepts. It becomes a drag and drop exercise, but learners are still having to make the connections themselves. They have to link the concepts together and put in the linking phrases to show they understand it. So.
Yeah, I know you just came out with a really interesting white paper, but what's some of the scientific basis for your software application? Okay,
so there are a number of actually, I'll show you the white paper here.
And if anyone is interested, you can go to the website and download that. And has some really good research and rationale for why using this product would be important for helping students to understand concepts at a deeper level.
Right. So it's based on a few things. First, we started. The interesting thing about this is we have a director of education research, Lynn Anderson Inman, and I have been a student of her work from the dawn of concept mapping for me. She has written a number of papers on the efficacy of concept mapping and also digital supports. So she's also the director of the Center for Electronic Study at the University of Oregon, still doing this work. So she is on board with us. And what the interesting thing about this white paper process is it ended up, I had internalized all this knowledge from reading her papers and other papers on concept mapping and knowledge mapping. And so when I saw that when we put together the tool that you just saw, I realized that this is going to work for a really good reason. The fact that there are some major proven disciplines coming together in our tool, and I'll get to those in a second, but also the fact that there's almost too much digital content available to students. So we're not just solving, we're not just improving knowledge mapping, we're helping learners get more value out of digital content, and we're helping digital content providers provide more value with their content, right? You watch a YouTube video on its own, you may passively consume it, right, for 4 minutes, and we have evidence now that learners are spending over 19 minutes actually engaging and digging into the content. And anecdotally, they're doing better on quizzes, of course, because they're taking that time to dig in. So back to the white paper. So we have the efficacy of concept mapping itself. And concept mapping, knowledge mapping, graphical organizing is in Common Core. It's in the Texas state standards as well. It's in all the major states. It's still there, still being used in classrooms every single day. And then we have scaffolding and supports, which is really interesting. This fits that other side of the screen where we're helping identify key concepts that learners do much better when they have hypertext or they have some ideas presented to them. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I thought of is I remember the blank screen problems that learners had. Where do I start? I have to cut and paste. I have to type to make a concept map. Mm-hmm. Now you're watching a video, and you've got a YouTube video. You've got an ebook chapter. You have a Wikipedia page and a PDF the teacher gave you. You're trying to derive meaning from all those things. We're giving you the scaffolds and supports to pull that all together, identifying keywords, and you drag them in. So it's a giant head start compared to that blank screen of all the other mapping tools.
I mean, I've had the opportunity to play around with the beta and also use your tool, which is embedded in BrainPop. For those educators who haven't used it, I mean, it's pretty exciting because your tool is basically mapping it's taking out the semantics and pulling out the concepts, which is pretty incredible. And then it lets the students work with those concepts and arrange them in their the way they think the information goes together. And I think that's important. That's really important. And yeah, a lot of kids, they see the white page where there'd be for a graphic organizer or even a word processing document. And it's like, where do I begin? So it does. Yeah.
And we're hearing. Thank you for bringing up BrainPop. We worked with BrainPop to create Make a Map, powered by Ideaphora, powered by us. So it's a BrainPop product powered by us. It was an excellent bootstrap project for the company because it exposed us to so many users and feedback and play tests. Mm-hmm. Also, they've been a fantastic partner. We've learned a ton from them. And it's amazing the amount of maps that are being created and saved every single day in Make a Map. I suggest you all check it out. It's available with the free movie of the day as well.
Oh, that's good. So everyone can get a chance to check it out. I was wondering, well, how did you envision both teachers and students using your tool in the classroom? I mean, when you set out to create the application?
So, we wanted to do something different, or I in particular, as I mentioned, I was consulting. I consulted for 35 different companies in the interim. And no insult to those guys, but there's a lot of focus. There's not a lot of focus on tools. There's a focus on content, right? And there's all different levels. There's OER, right? Open resources. And then there's high quality content like BrainPop, right? It's definitely worth the price of admission there. But others are just focused on aggregating and brokering mostly, bringing things together. So there's another reason why, a tool like ours makes sense is because, you're aggregating all these resources. There's still no good way to take digital notes from these resources. So that's really what we are. We're a digital note-taking tool. We have the scaffold and supports, and then we have concept mapping. Those are the two brands of research. The third one is making thinking visible, and that's where the actual usage comes in. So, for example, doing a KWHL, let's use BrainPop as an example. It's President's Day. We're going to watch this video on Abraham Lincoln. We're going to create a map of what more we want, what we know, what we learned, what more we want to learn. And then it gets turned into the teacher too. And it's a formative assessment as it is. So basically a teacher just walking around the class can look over the student's shoulder and say, yeah, this student understands, that the reasons for the Civil War and Abraham Lincoln's involvement, and things I learned from watching the video, like the Emancipation Proclamation came after. I have to be reminded of that. You know, the Civil War started, right? So I learned things from going through this.
We're learning every day.
Yeah. So when a student turns in a map, the teacher sees the map and then can comment back on the map and say, hey, you know, you really missed, like panda bears is one of our examples I worked on recently. You missed the fact that panda bears eat, you know, bamboo as 95% of their diet, right?
Right.
It's easy to identify gaps because we made the thinking visible, and that's the third strand of research, making thinking visible. So that's where we lead into assessment, at least formative assessment.
Mm-hmm. When your software comes out of beta, will it be set up with teacher and classroom management so that teachers can and students can submit their maps, so teachers can look at how they're externalizing their thinking?
Yes, and actually we have the capability now. We're going through. We have a beta available too. Right. Any educators out there can go to our site and sign up, ideaphora.com, sign up for a beta. Also, there's a little checkbox on that form if you are interested in piloting with students.
Okay.
We're piloting with students now. We don't have that teacher-student workflow yet, but we have the permissions structure set up, and that is certainly part of what we're doing, to have that submission process and eventually actual collaboration within a map. You know, that's a phase 2.
Right.
And also, you know, we were talking about assessments. Someday we're going to be able to we can record every transaction, every keyword that's drug out into a map and how they're connected. And someday we'll be able to return a form of assessment ourselves automatically, an authentic assessment, students not having to stop and take a discrete quiz, for example. You click a button, check my logic, look at the map. You miss the fact that panda bears eat bamboo as 95% of their diet.
Right.
So we're working on a grant with the University of Oregon to put that together. So we hope to get more of a formative assessment than a manual formative assessment.
Yeah. And is your software open to the extent where it can integrate with other tools or learning management systems so that it can be embedded inside of another tool? Or
yes, and that depends really on that management system and the partner and how we're working out. We'll be available on Edmodo shortly.
Okay.
A trial will be our beta will be available on Edmodo, and then certainly we've already spoken to Edmodo, and they're ready to go when we are. And what we really want to do there is not just appear on the Edmodo platform, but integrate with the content that teachers are already using. So that's going to determine how soon we get on with other platforms.
And share with some of the listeners in terms of what are some of those inputs or file formats that your application could accept to pull out the semantics.
So right now, to keep it simple and get our beta test going, we're YouTube videos. They have to be English transcripted. Right? We pull the keywords from the closed captioning and transcripting. Unfortunately, 95% of educational content is transcripted because of accessibility laws, right? And closed captioning. Then right now it's Wikipedia pages, but soon it'll be any web page. It'll be uploaded PDFs, uploaded Word doc, uploaded PowerPoint, any videos you'd like to upload yourself. So our teacher could be managing that for their students, or we may turn it loose and allow the students to connect things themselves. But it's a simple matter of these are the pieces of content. So it makes sense for us to go where the content is.
Sure.
You mentioned platforms, right? Where teachers and students are already aggregating and where the content's already being collected, it makes a lot of sense for us to be there as the real learning tool. Now you have all those things working together. You have access to the content and you have recommended content by the teachers. We're the actual tool that gets used for the learners to derive meaning from that content.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet. If I were to highlight text in the knowledge map, can it be accessed by a text-to-speech tool? Let's say in a browser.
I haven't. I think we have that. I think at least on Make a Map, I'll have to double check with our text. It's something we certainly have to add, right?
Yes.
Right. So I'm not sure if it's available right now, or we may still be working on it.
No, I could definitely see this being used with in the area of special education with students who are being mainstream in science and social studies, for really helping them understand the concepts, the ideas at a deeper level, but also for the teachers to be able to evaluate their students' understanding is really fantastic as well.
Thank you. And then I think of map. I've always thought of concept maps and knowledge maps. The reason why we're calling it knowledge mapping,
right,
really is because we take a step beyond concept mapping, and we actually become a true container of the learner's knowledge.
Correct.
So I studied cells. I had a Wikipedia page and a YouTube video, and now I have a living document, a living map of that work that continue to grow. By the way, I don't know, we didn't touch on this. One of the killer features is the play button. So it's probably difficult to see on my little screen here, but there's a play button attached to each node. So every time you drag a key concept out, or you can drag an image out from a Wikipedia page, for example, there's a little play button on it. And when you click on that play button, it'll take you back to the point of the content from which it was derived. Mm-hmm. So I want to be reminded about Abraham Lincoln in the log cabin, for example, and I see log cabin in my map, and I'm not sure why it's there. I click the play button, it'll take me right back to the point in the movie, actually 5 seconds sooner to give you context, and you'll be reminded. So as a study tool.
Yeah, I was thinking, teachers could really, if they took the time, they could create study guides out of the information that their students are learning, which would be pretty incredible. Pretty incredible.
Sure.
Yeah. So what's the roadmap in terms of when might this be available for educators? I know they can beta test it now, but what's the roadmap look like for the product?
We're hoping weeks instead of months, right? So, yeah. So the pilots are going to tell. We just started signing up our first pilots. We've got 150 students, actually from different classes. So we really need more pilots. We have over 50 schools that have requested. We're just trying to manage, getting the students on board with them. So we want to put a little more testing into it. We have to add the certain features we have to add to make it a viable product for actual use. And that first would be allowing at least the admins or teachers to choose the content. Now I have this video that that's a loose file, for example, or I have this specific thing on YouTube that you guys didn't identify. So in the meantime, we're talking about the content. I take requests because I'm the guy managing the content. So our beta testers can actually email us and say, hey, I'm doing a unit. I've had 2 of these already. I'm doing a unit on the Middle East, or I'm doing a unit on the civil rights movement. Right. And so I went through and found the right, crash course content or Khan Academy content, Wikipedia content. Oh, good. Okay. So so educators can send requests to you. Yeah. Okay. Great. Excellent. Good. I hope that I don't get 1,000 of those tomorrow. But. Oh yeah. After this interview, you definitely will. You know that this is going viral, Mark. It's recorded. Yeah. You got to watch. Got to keep my promises. All right. That sounds good. So in closing, I think it's important for educators to go to the Ideaphora website and opt in for the beta, so you get your hands on it and see what it can do. And it's a really different kind of tool, and I think that you highlighted some of the reasons why it's important to use it in terms of helping students think through and also helping them understand concepts at a deeper level. I think that's the important part. Yeah. Well, thank you. And I think the most important thing that we're hearing is that the teachers and students love it. Particularly the students. The teachers have an understanding of it, they use it, but the students, what they do with it is just, mind-blowing, really. I've seen 3rd grade students work. It's just been incredible. Great. So, and they're in love with it, which, makes sense. It's helping them express themselves. So, definitely. So, Mark, thanks for your time, and I hope to put this up as a audio podcast, and so other people can learn about your fine product, and maybe we'll touch base again in a month or 2 and check out your progress. That's great. All right. Have a good one. I'll be here. Okay.